Hi everybody, we have breaking news just into the Two Old Men at Heart newsroom. I'm Hunter.
And I'm Joe.
And we have some actually really exciting news that just came out this morning that I have not independently verified. However, I have had a number of sources that I checked that seem to be saying this is true about Holland America Line. So announced just this morning, today is April 28th, April 28th, 2025. Just announced this morning during a president's discussion, I guess. They had a presentation on the world voyage that's going on right now. We're talking about new entertainment, and this is debuting fleetwide coming this summer, 2025, and fall 2025.
Fall, yes.
So we're talking about new and revised world stage shows with more Broadway-style content.
Yes, you'll definitely appreciate that.
So we'll be seeing, they say, we'll be seeing
yes,
more...
details are a little scant so far, but...
Yeah, I'm sure
so we'll see what that ends up being.
We'll learn more probably pretty soon. More singing, more dancing, more pizzazz, they say. So
yes,
we'll see what that means.
Yes, we'll see what Broadway-style content means.
Yeah,
if it's...
if I were to guess, now of course this is just me guessing, we're not talking about an actual Broadway show like some of the cruise lines have, like a truncated version of an actual Broadway show.
Right.
I don't think that's what
No, it's probably a little bit much for their stage.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's what we're going to be seeing.
Something people will definitely love. The return of classical music on every sailing in the fleet.
Yeah. So that has been a big deal. When we first started with Holland America Line, it actually wasn't that long ago.
No.
We've gone on quite a few cruises.
Yes, but it's only been a couple of years.
But actually it's only been since, 2022, I think. So...
That would be
2022, 23, 24. So
yes.
3 years.
3 years.
That we've been sailing with Holland America Line. We've done quite a few cruises. But... classical music was a big draw for a lot of people on Holland America Line.
That was one of their features. It was one of the kind of things that set them apart from other lines. And you had your quartet that played in Lincoln Center at the time, the venue in the stage or in the ship, and you had your piano solos, and they would do music just throughout the day. And while people were getting ready for dinner, and it was nice. It was a nice touch. It was a very nice thing to go and enjoy.
Yes, even if you're not really a classical music lover, that just having it just added a bit of elegance.
Yes, the ambiance to the ship.
Yeah,
to your sailing.
And so that was like Joe said, a partnership with Lincoln Center. That partnership, I guess, stopped or something happened that we weren't getting a full orchestra. It was so cool.
Not that it was ever a full orchestra,
but it was a full orchestra, not a symphony orchestra.
No,
but a pretty large group.
Usually at least 4, sometimes more.
On every single ship, they would be performing. They would have performances during one of your evening performances, your 7 and 9 p.m. Performances. They would have at the world stage, but they would also play at Lincoln Center on board, which was this area that has now been renamed. I wonder if they'll change it again.
Depends on what their partnership is. It probably won't go back to Lincoln Center.
We'll see what that ends up being. But yes, classical music is making a return to all ships.
And all sailings, yes.
And all sailings, according to this
presentation
information that we heard this morning.
We'll see the details as they emerge.
So we're also going to be talking about there will be more variety in the musical genres on every cruise ship, as well as the classical music making a return. And the venues, such as B.B. King's Blues Lounge, Rolling Stone Lounge, Billboard Onboard, and the bar, what's it called? The bar that has the stage. Anyway, they're going to be activated far more often than just as people are walking to and from dinner and in the evening. They're supposed to be activated more often. So that's going to be really exciting too.
Yes, lots of people who appreciate music and dancing and being out will appreciate that.
I've said, probably not on a video, but I've said a number of occasions where that space is just not being used.
They've made good use of the Rolling Stone Lounge on our last few cruises for line dancing and the Deal or No Deal.
There's plenty of times when you walk by and it's not being used.
Well, that's true. But it's already been amped up. They've been increasing their use of it.
So apparently it's going to be activated more often, and there are going to be more daytime activities planned.
Yes.
That's something that they have talked about as well. So, and something else that they discussed was no more dark nights. Now, I can't say that we've ever really been on a cruise
that didn't have something going on in the world stage in the evening.
Yeah.
The closest we came was the Super Bowl.
Where they didn't have a show, but they were
showing the Super Bowl. It just wasn't a regular
screen.
activity event as they would typically do.
So apparently, I guess that had been a thing at some point, that there were some dark nights on the
probably
on
an
the
issue,
world
some
stage.
Complaints about that. Not that we've run into it.
Right. So that is not going to happen. There will be shows on the world stage every night of at least a 7-day
some sort of entertainment, yes.
Mm-hmm. More new stuff to talk about that came from this just this morning. There's going to be a new or different or a welcome aboard show. I don't know what that will consist of. I don't know, because we know that they have the...
well, they do their City on the Sea at the end, usually on the last day.
And we have the Captain's Welcome, which for some reason sometimes doesn't happen until the second or third day of a cruise.
Yes.
Which seems really silly. Like, that should happen on the first day.
Yes.
I realize there's so much stuff going on turnover day, but... like, if you're being welcomed aboard by the captain, that should probably happen as soon as possible after you're aboard.
You would think.
So that is going to be new. They're also going to be adding some late night cabaret acts. So that will be really interesting. That's a big thing. It's always been a big thing in New York City, cabaret acts, and it kind of goes hand in hand with Broadway. And recently, like 54 Below, and is it the Green Room, something. There's another big one that's near or on Broadway that people, and those get big names for one night only, type of acts.
So they might work on that, and just like they bring in their comedians and different people for one night, that maybe they'll bring in some people that you would know a name of to do a
that would be really cool. I don't know. Of course, they don't give you
they didn't tell us anything like that. That was not...
these are just sort of bullet points that they have unveiled. But the late night cabaret acts, of course, that could be just your performers.
Yes. And probably most of the time it would be.
It would likely be. But it would be really cool if they got some pretty big names, whether that be... Now, it is cabaret, so that typically would be singing with like a piano. But I could see that being like a late night comedy show type of thing. A little risque, a little more less family friendly. Not that they really worry about that too much on Holland America Line.
But as opposed to the main stage with a larger audience, you put it in Rolling Stone or V.V. King, that would be a little more of an intimate venue. It could do something like that.
So, and we are supposed to stay tuned. Holland America Line apparently will be very soon announcing a new production show partnership that will be coming, or announced this summer. So it is April right now. Summer's coming up very soon.
Yes, which will be interesting because they just sort of phased out Step One
dance company,
and in favor of this new that we saw on our last cruise. So that was already a recent change to that. So it'll be interesting to see what they change or add, or what they do with that. That'll be different.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think we have a ton of information from these bullet points. So
this is, that's pretty much what we got. Were bullet points this morning. I'm working to find out some more information, and if I find out more information, we'll bring it to you. But I wanted to share this because this was actually really exciting stuff, and I know a lot of people have been a little disappointed, especially about the classical music and some of the entertainment
in general
stuff that's been on board. They've heard you. It seems.
It seems. Well, at least they're making an effort. Yes.
And so we have new stuff that's coming, and we're on a cruise coming up at the end of May. I doubt any of these. It says summer and fall.
Summer, yeah,
so
probably
I doubt
a little
any
early.
Of this stuff is going to be on our cruise in May, but we have another cruise
In October.
Yes, in October.
And I'm sure probably at least some of that will be transpiring.
Implemented by then. Yeah. So I'm very excited to find out about that. I'm keeping my ear to, keeping my eyes peeled on social media and other places where I get information to find out more about what's going on. So we'll pass that along to you when we learn more, but I wanted to share this information with you. This is our breaking news. This is our first ever breaking news.
Yes.
Cruise news.
Yes, preempted a regularly scheduled video that we had.
Yes.
So bring you this.
So I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll bring you more information as we learn more. And thank you so much for watching. Bye, everybody.